It's been over 2 years now since I upgraded the suspension in the front and back of this van with SumoSprings and SuperSprings to improve the handling and ride quality and give me back some of that ride height I lost from the weight of the conversion. Hi, I'm Marcel and I like building vans and showing other DIY enthusiasts like you how to build your own van. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing how it has handled the 2 years of use and abuse and see if I would install them if I was doing this whole process again. This video is brought to you by my brand new online course, Vanbuild Academy. More on that later. So as you can see from these clips, before the upgrade, this van had some serious suspension issues. With the extra weight of the conversion, the factory rear leaf springs were sagging so much that the bump stops were actually bottoming out on the rear differential when going over most bumps, causing sharp jolts through the chassis of the van, which was just a terrible feeling when you're driving. Now this actually wore one of the factory bump stops down so badly it was destroyed. So the van used to bounce excessively over speed bumps and also had quite a lot of body roll when cornering, especially when we had it loaded with all our gear and were traveling around. So I decided to go with a two-pronged approach. So firstly, I installed the SuperSprings assistor spring, which sits directly on top of the factory parabolic spring and are held in place by a roller at each end. Now these are called helper springs and they are built as an alternative to adding a leaf to an existing spring pack, which you actually can't do anyway with the parabolic springs that are in these vans. So these springs provide extra support for the existing leaf springs, helping gain back some of that ride height that we lost due to the conversion and also reduce the annoying body roll we had. Now secondly, the SumoSprings, which are made out of super tough microcellular polyurethane, acted as a progressive bump stop, which absorbs all the smaller bumps and improving the overall ride comfort. Now the rear SumoSprings replace the factory bump stops, and unlike the factory bump stops, which are actually just there to stop the differentials from slamming hard into the chassis, SumoSprings are actually designed to ride on the differential. The SumoSprings that we installed in the front suspension act in a similar manner, except they are installed inside the coil spring suspension. It gives a little bit more height to the suspension and a lot more dampening power. So it's been 2 years and I want to have a look at how these things have held up. To do that, I'm going to have to jack the car up, take this wheel off and really give a good inspection of the SumoSpring, how it's maintained and all the moving parts. Okay, so everything looks pretty much the same as when I installed it. First of all, the SumoSpring looks like the day I bought it. It's still in there really tight and it doesn't look like it's lost any vertical height at all. So the SuperSpring at the moment doesn't have any tension because I lifted the back wheel up, so I can lift that up. The only thing that I've noticed is that this bracket which holds this supporting rubber grommet at the bottom has kind of gone askew. You can see it's kind of pointing towards the back of the van where it should be in line here. So this might be the reason why I was actually getting a little bit of squeaking every now and then when I get a lot of body roll. So I'm going to undo this and straighten that up and tighten that up again, and I'll check the other side to make sure that hasn't happened as well. So as you can see, everything still looks like pretty well. So the plastic washers and all the rubber grommets inside these little bushings are still in good condition. The rollers underneath don't look like they've done any kind of wear and tear. There's no flat spots on these rollers. This rubber bushing in the middle seems like it's still in pretty good condition. There's nothing wrong with that. And the other side too. So let's have a look. There's no flat spots on these rollers at all. And all the bolts are still super tight. So yeah, that's really good. I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. So because I did have a bit of squeaking and I wasn't exactly sure where it was coming from, it could have come from any of these points where it was touching the spring or in the middle bit with the rubber. I never really eventually found out where it came from. So as a preemptive measure, I'm just going to spray some dry lube on all those points now, which should stop that from ever squeaking. All right, so that's pretty much it. Happy with how this has handled the 2 years of abuse. It's more or less exactly how I put it in there. There's no wear and tear or anything. So I'm going to put the wheel back on now, and I'm going to check the front Sumo spring. Okay, so these are the front Sumo springs that actually slide inside the coil suspension. So the one thing that I didn't mention in the video when I installed them was I didn't put these cable ties which hold the Sumo springs onto the coils. I'm not sure if they were supposed to have the holes already in them. I saw a couple of the products that these guys sell and they do already have these holes built in. This one didn't, and it did actually come loose a couple of times. So I did just put a hole through these and zip tied it on, and since then it hasn't moved an inch. This is exactly where it was beforehand, that it still looks pretty much in the exact condition, just a little dustier. So this one passes the test after 2 years of abuse as well. Are you dreaming of van life but overwhelmed by the conversion process? Don't worry, you're not alone. Building a van like this can be exciting, but it also comes with a lot of planning and decisions. So that's where I come in. I've converted multiple vans myself and learned from my mistakes. Mistakes I'll show you how to avoid. My online van build course is designed for DIY enthusiasts of all experience levels, helping you save time, money, and stress throughout your project. So here's what you'll get: everything in one place. The course provides all the information you need, from choosing your perfect van, planning your water, gas, and electrical systems to completion. So with detailed video tutorials, I will guide you through every step of the conversion process so you can build your van right the first time, as well as having tons of included schematics, diagrams, calculators, and 3D models. I'll help you save valuable time by having a clear plan before you even start building. Click the link in the description to find out more and how to enroll in the course. Okay, the last thing I want to check is if I've lost any of that initial height gain that I got back when I first installed these springs. So the rear, I gained an extra 55 millimeters, and in the front, I gained an extra 30 millimeters. So when I first installed it, the height from the floor to the wheel arch was 885. It is now 870. So it seems I've lost about 15 millimeters in height. Okay, so that's actually not bad considering that I've probably lost quite a bit of tread in these tires, as I've done about 40,000 kilometers in them, and the tire pressure might not be the same. So I would say I probably haven't lost that much height, but I'm gonna check the rest anyway. This one is now 810 millimeters, 810 millimeters also, 845 millimeters. Okay, so I pretty much lost 15 millimeters on all the tires except for this one where it stayed the same. So that kind of makes me believe that it's nothing to do with the tire wear or the tire pressure, and rather probably just the suspension adjusting itself over time. So I still have increased that height gain back, but just not as much, as the suspension seems to have settled itself over those 2 years. All right, 2 years and about 40,000 kilometers later, I'm happy to report that the suspension upgrades have been a total game changer to this van. The van now handles like an absolute dream, with no more bouncing, swaying, or that bottoming out of the chassis on the rear differential that we're getting pretty often. It feels much more stable and predictable on all types of roads, even on highways, but especially on those pothole-filled dirt roads and those corrugated roads which used to be an absolute nightmare to drive on. So after inspecting the springs and see how they performed after 2 years, both the Sumo and the SuperSprings do give me a pretty good impression that they are built to last, as they have shown pretty much no wear and tear after the 2 years. The great thing is that if something ever was to go wrong, SuperSprings actually offer a lifetime warranty on both those spring products. So I also got a lot of questions in my very first installation video about why I didn't install airbag suspension instead of the Sumo springs. So the reasons I went with the Sumo spring over the airbag is that the Sumo spring offers a pretty good balance of affordability, easy installation, and improved handling for moderate weight loads like this van conversion. Sumo springs are much more DIY friendly and are a lot cheaper and maintenance free, as well as there is no air pressure adjustments ever needed for the Sumo springs, unlike airbag suspension. So the Sumo springs do have a limited adjustability than that of airbags, but now that the conversion is complete, the weight in the van doesn't vary significantly enough to require changes to the suspension, and once the Sumo springs are set up correctly, it's more of a case of just set and forget. So a set of those rear Sumo springs costs around about 350 Australian dollars, where a set of airbags will set you back $700 and around $1,300 if you're including installation. Now the beauty about those springs is that they literally took me 5 minutes to rip the old bump stops out and replace it with these. So the final thoughts of this review: if you're looking to improve your handling and ride quality of your van conversion, I highly recommend considering both the Sumo and the SuperSprings. Now this combination has been an absolute game changer for us, and I expect it to continue to deliver a smooth and comfortable ride for many years to come. As always, leave a comment below if you have any questions about this video. Let me know what kind of suspension upgrades you've done on your van, or if you're considering making the leap to Sumo and SuperSprings. Subscribe if you haven't already and you want to see more content like this. And remember, if you want to hear more information about my Vanbuild online course, go to the website saltyvanventures.com on how to enroll. But until next time, I'll see you later.